Welcome, dear listeners, to Sheikh ElSahrawy's Reflections on the Holy Quran. I'm Yusuf.
And I'm Miriam. It's a joy to be with you all again. Today we delve into a powerful story from Surah Al-Baqarah, a story of a people at a crossroads, a story of faith tested by fear, and of divine wisdom challenging human expectations.
We'll be exploring the reflections of Sheikh Muhammad Mutawalli Ash-Sharawi on verses 246 through 248. The story begins with a divine invitation to witness a historical event with the certainty of sight. The Most High says, "Did thou not see, preparing us for a report that is as true as if we had seen it with our own eyes?"
And what an event it is! Let's begin with the first verse, verse 246 of Surah Al-Baqarah.
It reads, "Prophet, consider the leaders of the children of Israel who came after Moses, when they said to one of their prophets, 'Set up a king for us, and we shall fight in God's cause.' He said, 'But could it be that you would not fight if it were ordained for you?' They said, 'How could we not fight in God's cause, when we and our children have been driven out of our homeland?' Yet when they were commanded to fight, all but a few of them turned away. God has full knowledge of those who do wrong."
The words of the true Lord, the Most High, are information we hear, but we are told to receive it as if we are seeing the incident unfold. And what do we see?
That word assembly, or mala in Arabic, is quite specific. What does Sheikh ElSahrawy tell us about its meaning?
He explains that it's derived from the verb meaning to fill up, like a vessel that is so full it can take no more. The word mala is used for the nobles of a community because it's as if they fill the life of everything around them so that no one else can displace them. So the assembly here refers to the nobles and leaders of the people gathered to hold council.
So, these leaders of the children of Israel, after the time of Musa alayhi salam, gathered together. The text says this could have been during the time of Joshua, Ezekiel, or Samuel. Peace be upon them all. The specific era isn't the focus. What matters is that it was after Musa alayhi salam, and they go to their prophet with a specific request.
They say, "Send to us a king, and we will fight in the way of God." From this, we can immediately infer two things. First, they had no king, and second, they had a prophet, but no king.
And that distinction is very important, isn't it? What does it teach us about the roles of prophethood and kingship at that time?
It teaches us that prophethood was concerned with supervising the carrying out of actions, not with carrying them out directly. The king was the one who acted. If the prophet had been the one to act directly, they wouldn't have asked for a king. The wisdom in this is profound. The one who acts directly is often subject to hatred or blame if things go wrong. So instead of directing potential failure towards the highest level, the level of prophethood, they transferred it to someone lower, the king. This kept prophethood as a pure source of truth, beyond criticism.
So they have a clear request and a clear motive. The Most High tells us that their prophet then challenges them. He points out, "You are the ones who asked to fight. You are the elders, the nobles of the people, and you have a clear reason for fighting."
Yes, a very painful reason. They had been expelled from their homes and their children. They had been subjected to such ignominy that they no longer had homes, and their children had been captured by their enemy. The reason for fighting was undeniable. But even with all this, their prophet says to them, "Would you perhaps refrain from fighting if fighting was ordained for you?"
He's making the stipulation clear from the very beginning. It's as if he's saying, "I fear that if I bring you a king and God makes fighting obligatory, when the harsh reality of battle arrives, you will lose your resolve and capitulate."
But their response is filled with conviction. They say, "And why should we not fight in the way of God when we have been driven out from our homes and our children?" It's fascinating how they frame it. They declare their desire to fight in the way of God, but they immediately attach it to their personal suffering, their loss of homes and children. They wanted to turn their personal tragedy into a sacred cause, and the Exalted accepted this from them, considering their fight to be in His way.
The part about being driven from their homes makes sense, but how could they be driven from their children?
Sheikh ElSahrawy explains that they must have left their children to the enemy, who might have taken them as captives. They were the ones driven out, but their relationship with their children is like what a poet described. "If you leave a people who could have kept you, it is they who are truly leaving." It's a deep examination of their state. Here they are, the assembly of elders, asking for a lawful war in God's way.
And so the command to fight was issued. The verse continues, "But when fighting was ordained for them, they turned away." The phrasing here is very precise. It says fighting was ordained in the passive voice.
Exactly. This is because they were the ones who asked for it. God made them part of the covenant they themselves initiated. That's why the text says was ordained, not He ordained. And yet, despite all their passionate declarations, they turned away. They refused to fight. Their prophet's doubt about their willingness was proven right.
But did all of them refuse?
No, and this is a crucial point. The verse says, except for a few of them. There were some who held true. It reminds me of the poet's words. The one who made the truth bitter did not leave a single generation bereft of people of truth. There was a minority who did not reject the command.
And this seems to be a preparation for a lesson that comes later in the story.
It is. The lesson is, if the majority capitulates and the masses disappear, do not say, I am a minority. What counts is not the size of the group, but the help and support of the true Lord. Your enemies might be a legion, but they have no aid from the Most High Divinity. You might be few, but you have His aid. This is precisely what God wants us to understand when He later says, how often has a small company overcome a large company by permission of God?
So victory comes by God's leave. It's about perspective.
It's entirely about perspective, which is shaped by faith. We can all witness the same thing, but our reactions differ. The text gives the example of a beautiful flower. One person sees it, is pleased by its beauty, and leaves it for others to enjoy. Another person sees it and thoughtlessly picks it. The inclinations differ. In the same way, we can all see a large enemy and a small army. One person, who hasn't included his Lord in the count, says, we cannot handle them. But another person, who considers himself to be accompanied by his Lord, sees things differently.
The verse concludes, and God has knowledge of the wrongdoers. So turning away from the fight was a form of wrongdoing.
A profound wrongdoing against themselves. One of the meanings of wrongdoing is to give someone's right to another. You were expelled from your home and you remained in that state. You wronged yourself. You wronged your children who were taken, and you did not take them back. And above all, you wronged your religion. Those who turned away wronged themselves, their families, their society, and their faith.
And the phrase, and God has knowledge of the wrongdoers, what does that specifically indicate here?
It indicates that God was aware of those who crept away secretly, trying to destroy the morale of the people. These are the ones we might call the fifth column today, who subvert morale from the shadows. No one sees them, but God knows them.
So despite the majority turning away, the process continues. They had asked their prophet for a king. It should have been enough for him to choose one, but their reluctance and obstinacy continued, and they shifted the issue to something else entirely. This brings us to the next verse, 247.
Their prophet said to them, God has now appointed Talut to be your king. But they said, how can he be king over us when we have a greater right to rule than he? He does not even have great wealth. He said, God has chosen him over you and has given him great knowledge and stature. God grants his authority to whoever he pleases. God is magnanimous, all-knowing.
Their prophet wanted to instill respect for this new king, so he didn't just say, I have chosen him. He said, indeed, God has sent to you Talut as a king.
Yes, he attributed the choice directly to God. He, as a prophet, wanted to remove his own human nature from the equation, to show them this was a divine appointment. He wanted to reassure them, and what was their response?
Objection, the prophet, he said, how can he have kingship over us while we are more worthy of kingship than he is, and he has not been given abundance of wealth? This is the beginning of their obstinacy, shifting the argument to criteria that have nothing to do with religion.
They wanted prominence and wealth. They forgot that the king was for their own good, to lead them in the war they had requested. Why did they imagine the choice was against their interest? Their words, how can he have kingship over us, also tell us something else.
That Talut was not a prominent person?
Exactly. He was an unknown. Usually when a community is in trouble, they think about who could lead them, and their thoughts revolve around a few well-known personalities. Heaven's choice of Talut was completely unexpected. They searched his lineage and found he was not from the line of prophethood, which was the line of Benjamin alayhi salam, nor from the line of kingship, which was the line of Levi, son of Jacob alayhi salam. It shows that when people want a particular situation, they don't want the man who is best for the job, but the man who is best for themselves.
So does kingship come by arrogance and pride?
Of course not. And because Talut was an unknown, the true Lord wanted to teach every believer a lesson. When you choose, don't be fooled by lineage, descent, or fame. Choose the best person based on experience and qualification, not just authority. They completely ignored the fact that the task they wanted a king for required two specific qualities, physical strength and knowledge. And in Talut, God had chosen for them a man who possessed both.
And notice the flow of the prophet's words. At first, he says, God has sent to you Talut, a gentle introduction. But when they became obstinate, the language became stronger.
Yes. Then he said, "Indeed, God has chosen him over you," confirming that no one among them possessed both the skill and physical strength and the knowledge that Talut had. The verse says, "and has increased him abundantly in knowledge and stature." They should have received God's choice with acceptance. And what's more, he endowed him with the very qualities needed for the task.
This leads to the powerful declaration from their prophet, and God gives his sovereignty to whom he wills.
It's as if the true Lord is saying to them, "Do not think you can nominate the right king for yourselves. It is enough that you asked me for a king. Now leave the choice to me, according to my own standards." The verse then concludes, "And God is all-encompassing, knowing." This means that for every situation, he has a ruling, and for every position, he has the right man. He knows who is right for each task, not out of a scarcity of men, but out of his infinite capacity and knowledge.
But their obstinacy was so strong that words were not enough. They needed something more, a tangible proof. This required a miracle, which brings us to the next verse, 248.
Their prophet said to them, "The sign of his authority will be that the Ark of the Covenant will come to you. In it there will be the gift of tranquility from your Lord and relics of the followers of Moses and Aaron, carried by the angels. There is a sign in this for you if you believe."
So God sent a sign with King Talut to prove he was divinely chosen. The sign is the coming of the Ark, or Tabut. The verse says, "The Ark will come to you," which implies it was absent, missing, and that it was something known and precious to them.
Yes, and what is this tabut? The word appears twice in the Quran. Once here and once in the story of Musa alayhi salam as a child, when God inspired his mother to place him in a chest, a tabut, and cast it into the river. Since the word is used here in an unrestricted way, it's likely the very same one. It's as if the very means by which Musa alayhi salam was saved now has a role in this new chapter.
That connection itself is powerful. It suggests we should take care of relics connected to significant moments in our religious history.
Absolutely. We shouldn't dismiss them as objects of disbelief. They have a connection to doctrine, to historical events, to sacred things. Look at this ark. It contained relics left by the houses of Musa and Harun alayhim salam, and it was borne by the angels. This shows its immense significance. These relics are important to faith. It's as if the Quran is telling us to leave them as they are, to take counsel and admonition from them, because they remind us of sacred things.
The fact that the ark was lost also tells a story.
It indicates that an enemy had conquered their land. When an enemy wants to destroy a people, they first try to destroy the sacred objects that link the land to its religion. If the ark was so sacred, their enemies would surely have taken it when they expelled them from their homes.
So God was assuring them that the sign of Talut's kingship would be the return of this precious ark. And the verse says it contains assurance from your Lord, or sakina.
A psychological serenity. When one finds the very ark in which a prophet was saved, containing these sacred relics, one feels the peace of a physical connection to heaven. It makes the soul find peace. Sheikh ElSahrawy gives modern examples. Imagine being told, "This is the Quranic manuscript from which our master Uthman, God be pleased with him, used to read." Or, "This is the sword with which Imam Ali, God be pleased with him, used to fight." Seeing such things brings illumination and tranquility to the heart. For a person with doubts, faith can become stable in their heart.
So these sacred objects are not for idolatry, but for remembrance and for strengthening faith.
Exactly. Authority figures should protect them and show them to the people as a source of inner peace, while advising people not to become infatuated by them. The Quran itself emphasizes the ark's contents, relics of what the family of Moses and the family of Aaron had left. This shows that the families of the prophets looked after these precious items. And the fact that it was carried by the angels confirms that this is something momentous, deserving of the greatest care.
The phrasing, "the ark will come to you," is also interesting. The act of coming is ascribed to the ark itself.
Yes, and this was part of the sign. They would be sitting and watching, and the ark would just come. The angels carrying it are invisible beings, so no one would see them. They would only see the ark arriving on its own. This sight would quicken the hearts and make even the hardest of them fall in prostration, saying, "O Talut, you are the king, we will not object."
And what were these relics?
Some say it was the staff of Musa alayhi salam. This makes perfect sense. It was the tool of his great miracle, the one that swallowed the sorcerer's illusions. It's unimaginable that Musa alayhi salam or his followers would have been careless with such a miraculous object. They would have deemed it sacred. This whole event shows that these people were obstinate and needed tangible proof. So God gave them the ultimate tangible proof, the ark, coming to them on its own.
The verse ends with a powerful condition. Indeed, and that is a sign for you if you are believers.
It's the final word on the matter. There could be no sign more wondrous than this to prove the prophet's truthfulness about Talot's kingship. If they couldn't believe after this, they needed to re-examine their faith entirely. And what's fascinating is how the Quranic discourse proceeds from here.
It doesn't mention their reaction at all.
Exactly. The text omits what would logically come next, that they accepted Talot, and he began preparing the army for war. This omission implies that the argument was so overwhelming, the signs so absolute, that it silenced them completely. Their acceptance was a foregone conclusion.
Miriam, after exploring all of this, what stands out most from today's discussion?
For me, it's the profound lesson in trusting God's choice over our own limited human criteria. The children of Israel judged by lineage and wealth, but God chose based on knowledge and strength, the very qualities needed for the task. It's a beautiful reminder that His wisdom is perfect, and His choice is always what is best, even if we don't understand it at first. And the sanctity of relics, not as objects of worship, but as physical anchors for our memory and faith, connecting us to the sacred moments of our history. That brings such a deep sense of peace. And for you, Yusuf, what resonates most deeply?
I'm struck by the raw honesty of the human condition portrayed here. They passionately asked for a challenge, driven by real pain and loss, yet when the moment came, most of them shrank from it. It's a powerful warning to all of us about the gap between our words and our actions, and the lesson that followed, that the few who remained steadfast were the ones who mattered, because victory comes not from numbers, but from God's permission and aid. It reorients our entire understanding of strength and success.
Beautifully said. May these reflections enrich our hearts and strengthen our faith. To all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. We pray you find peace and wisdom in these words, and we look forward to sharing more with you next time. Peace be with you.